one of the things that we need more and more in this world of ours is laughter. If you can go to a corporate function and you can make those people laugh, then you are really on top of your game. And so I got together with a guy that I really love. He's got a great show. His name is Greg Schem, and his show is, he is the host of A Comedian Crashes Your Pad. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Man, I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing just great.
So you go around the world basically, and you kind of bum couches. You're like an international bum, right?
Well, it's one kind of led to the other. I mean, you mentioned at the top that I'm a corporate comedian, which is true. So for the last 25 years or so, that's been my niche as a comedian, whereas opposed to doing comedy clubs, I do make the corporate world laugh, and I do a bunch of business meetings and conferences and expos and things like that. And that was great. And a few years ago, I just decided that I was getting a little tired of always staying in hotels because I felt like I wasn't able to write material. I wasn't seeing anything that I thought was funny just sitting in a hotel room. So that's about the same time that the home sharing industry took off, meaning Airbnb, Vrbo, those kind of places. And I thought, well, I'm going to go check these places out and these people that open up their homes to strangers. And I started to, while I was on the road doing the corporate gigs, taking an extra day and finding somebody that I just thought looked interesting or they had a property that I thought looked interesting. And I started staying with them and filming my encounters with them. And what started as being filmed on just an iPhone grew to having a full crew and getting noticed and getting up on streaming platforms. And that's where we're at right now. So it's very exciting. So to get back to your question, I do kind of crash on couches.
Do they, man, that was a long answer. Do you have to like pre-qualify before you start filming? I mean, you're in a strange person's house, and I'm assuming they're in there with you. Mm-hmm. And depending on what they happen to be doing, you're like, oh, can I film that? And they're like, no, that one you can't film.
Yeah, there's a little vetting that goes on, mostly on my end. I mean, I just think it's funny that people open up their homes to strangers and don't ask any questions about them beforehand. It's like, oh, I'd like to, okay, fine, you're approved. I just got out of prison. That's okay, you're still approved.
Well, they're probably assuming you're going to pay them some money to be there.
Well, So, well, basically all my requirements are when I stay with people, as I say, you need to give me an on-camera tour of your property. And we need to do a sit-down interview where I ask you about why you got into home sharing. And after that, anything's game.
No rules.
We'll go to your favorite haunts if you want. If you have a project that you're working on, I'll do it with you. I've done some pretty fun stuff with hosts, and I kind of let them drive the episode.
Give us an example of one of your favorite shows.
A lot of times what happens is what I don't realize is going to happen. I mean, I stayed with a couple in San Antonio, okay, so in Texas, and all I knew about them was that they tended to market their place as they took in musicians who were traveling cross country and so forth. That was kind of what they put on their site. Now I'm a comedian. They're like, that's okay. We'll take you too. And
anyway, we'll take you anyway.
Yeah, anyway, if we must. But I didn't know anything about them, and it turns out they have a daughter who's a very, a pretty established country western star, and a son who does the same thing. And next thing you know, I was kind of in the middle of a jam session out on their porch, drinking beer and just talking about it. It's like, wow, I had no idea this was going to happen. So a lot of times, what happens is the unexpected.
Mm-hmm. And did they invite you back? That's what I really want to know. It's what we're going at.
We haven't gotten to that point yet. I hope they will. I do stay in contact with them, so I hope they will.
Okay, so you're still speaking. You haven't worn your welcome out yet.
Not yet.
No, that's good. That's good. So you've traveled all around the world with us. Tell us about some of the places you've been.
Yeah, I've been. I mean, obviously, the pandemic has put a sort of a temporary kibosh on traveling. But the great thing about what I'm doing in home share is you don't have to. I don't know how I phrase this without it. I don't want it to sound like we're being blasé about the pandemic. But the thing about home
What
sharing is it's kind
pandemic?
of like, well, I know. That's right. You live in. I forgot. You live in
I'm in
Texas.
Texas. We didn't have a pandemic, but go right ahead.
Yeah. You brought it to Illinois where I live. We have double the pandemic, so double the rules. But it's kind of what they're comfortable with. So as far as I've been to, I've crashed on a little canal boat in London. I've been to Vancouver where I crashed in a guy's smart home, and I had to learn how to use Alexa and Google. Everything was controlled by technology.
An electric toilet.
That led to a few phone calls.
Yeah.
I've stayed in an open air tent in Colorado. I've stayed in a van, a VW van in Vail.
How
Some guy
fun.
rented his van.
He rented his van?
He rented his van. That was his whole pitch was, if you want to ski, it's the cheapest place to stay. And he was right about that.
Could you drive it or just sleep in it?
No, it wasn't drivable. I just slept in it. Yeah.
I thought we were renting it to drive back to California. What do you mean?
No, I'm sure at one point it was rented to drive back to California, but no, I just slept in it.
There's nothing like sleeping in a hippie van. I've done it in the 70s.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It definitely had that look about it.
Yeah.
Outside and inside.
So the process of locating these people, tell us how that happens. Or do you just go on and you just Google, people that need people that have an extra bed, or what is it?
No, I go on some of the home sharing sites. I found out where I'm going to be at. What we try to do is to coordinate episodes around where I'm going to be performing stand-up comedy. So, for example, the last one we did was in Savannah, Georgia. So I had a gig at a place called the Savannah Comedy Review. So once I get that locked down, then I start going on home sharing sites and looking for properties in Savannah and saying, hey, maybe I can stay with you while I perform, and I'll make you a part of the episode. And that's pretty much how
they don't pay me enough as a comedian to get a hotel room, so I'll do a song and dance for you if I could sleep on your couch.
Right.
And maybe a ham sandwich. Maybe a ham sandwich. Hey.
Exactly. So then I just start looking for people that I find their profiles to be interesting, or if they say something funny on their profile, or if they have a unique, like some of the places I've described, just a unique accommodations. I tend to look for people who are doing home sharing for reasons other than strictly financial. And there's a lot of those people out there. There are people who have a passion for something. They, whether maybe they're raising chickens, or, we're looking right now for somebody in the weed industry, to tell you the truth.
The weed, not like yard weeds.
No, not the kind of stuff you kill. The kind of stuff that's becoming
you grow
in a lot of states. But that's big now. That's
you're having to look for that. Is there a lot of looking going on? I mean, is that hard to find?
You've got to find the right balance and so forth, and kind of what people want to talk about. But so it's that kind of thing. So anything, I've stayed with vegans. I've stayed with people who just want to talk about that. I stayed with a gay couple on a yacht in Fort Lauderdale who were recently married and want to talk about that. And again, anything is fair game with me.
Oh, that sounds like really, really a lot of fun. Sounds like just a great adventure. So you've slept in some interesting places and on some interesting things. And tell us about some of the oddities, some of the weird things that happen when you're at someone else's house. Like the cat being stuck in the attic, or you have to be kind of careful with that, don't you?
I think so. I mean, there are things that, you just never know, because it's amazing to me. Not everybody is really clean. A lot of people are just like, it is what it is. Take it or leave it. It's cheaper than the Marriott.
Nobody's died yet.
Yeah. So I had an incident I mentioned that we were in Savannah, and we were staying at a very nice sort of a garden apartment. And I walked in one morning and I realized I'd stepped in dog do, for
Stuff.
lack of a better word. And it turns out that the dog had gotten into the property and just made himself at home. And
it wasn't their dog.
Their dog, yeah. And I called the owner who lived upstairs, and she was this very proper Southern woman, just that kind of, y'all, just whatever's bad here, it's not my fault. And she goes, well, we'll clean that up. She goes, y'all need to leave the door shut all the way, because Leon will just get in there and make himself at home. Like, yeah, well, mission accomplished there.
Yeah.
So that was not in the write-up about the place.
I have to get Leon out of my bed now.
Exactly. Leon, before Leon eats dinner.
Yeah, right. He ate my ham sandwich. What's up with that?
So yeah, there've been a few little incidents like that, but for the most part, I think everybody has been very cool. I think if you're going to open your home, you have to be a very unique person and one who's sort of willing to roll with the punches a little bit.
And you haven't gotten in trouble with anybody yet.
No.
Yeah, come on. Let's have it.
No, I've maybe broken a few things or so forth, but no. And also in all seriousness, I want, the goal of these episodes is really to have fun with people and to make the audience laugh. But I'm not interested in belittling people. I mean, I want to portray them in a very good light. I mean, sure. I'm a guest in their house. Yeah, so why wouldn't I do that?
Well, if you didn't want to go back. Now, this is a remodeling based show. So the question comes, do they have to remodel these places after you leave?
After I leave? Gosh, I hope not. They may have to fix the toilet once or twice.
Reset all the dials.
A lot of them should have remodeled before I showed up. But no, I like to consider myself a fairly low maintenance guest. I make the bed and so forth afterwards. But have I stayed in some places that have needed some work? Oh, yeah, absolutely. But that's why they're renting them as opposed to staying in them themselves.
What do you have coming up?
What we're doing now is, we're putting the finishing touches on Savannah. My next one I'm looking to do is in North Carolina, in a place called Tryon, North Carolina, where we're talking about there. I've got one coming up in Boise, Idaho in the fall. I'm going to be the host of the Boise Chamber of Commerce annual gala. So again, I come in, I do my show, I stay with them. I'm really looking forward to that one because Boise's a really up and coming city. I try to focus on small to mid-sized cities. I mean, I've done Denton, Texas.
I stayed in an Airstream. I know where that is.
I stayed in an Airstream in Denton years ago, which was great. And she had a name for it. She goes, I want to introduce you to your property. This is Maggie May. I go, how do you know this is a female Airstream? I mean, do you flip it upside? I don't know.
I think I love her. My favorite dog was Maggie May. And my favorite, and that came from some fantastic memories of the 70s with Rod Stewart and a great song he did and some people I knew and some things we did. And it was fun. Yeah, I think I was told.
All the video's been destroyed, though, hasn't it?
Well, luckily, we didn't have video back then. Thank God.
Isn't that great that we didn't have video back then?
Yeah. That's why we're all still free people. Let's talk about your corporate comedy that you do. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, I just decided I was when I quit my job, I was a TV news reporter, and when I quit my job, I became what you would consider to be a comedian, the guy that traveled around the country working comedy clubs. But that's a natural transition, isn't it? Reporter to comedian. Yeah, I know. How did that happen? Did it? I mean, I literally, this was down in West Palm Beach, Florida, and I had all the real gritty, the gritty assignments. I mean, I was the cop reporter, and so I literally was covering murders during the day, and it's like, okay, it's 6 o'clock, I'm done. Let's put on the comedy hat now. Let's laugh about it. What the heck? Yeah. So, so anyway, I had people, because I did somewhat of a clean act. I talked about technology and computers a lot in my club act, and I had people come up to me after shows and say, "Can you come down and perform for our business or our corporate retreat and things like that. And I just decided I was good at that. And there weren't a lot of people do. I just sort of knew how to talk to a corporate audience and sort of make fun of them and poke fun at them without making it, again, without being mean, without belittling what they were doing. There's a real fine line there.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think that I've been able to straddle that really well. So, I mean, you run home, your audience is a home building audience. I mean, I've done Ace Hardware. I've done a lot of those kind of companies and so forth. And, you know, people, what you find is that people really like to laugh at themselves. They might not admit it, but when a guy from the outside comes in and sort of says what they've been thinking for the last 10 years,
right.
they enjoy that. And
because you can talk about the boss. You can talk about the boss, and what's he going to do? Fire you? Nah.
Right. Well, and you know what's typical is a lot of times the boss is laughing the hardest. I think sometimes CEOs they almost have this persona that I have to be serious all the time. And I've worked with some companies with some CEOs that are just hysterical and really good sports. And once they start laughing, it sort of means everybody else it's okay to laugh too. Sometimes you have to find that balance.
You have to watch what the king does, man. When the king does it, it's okay. That's
exactly,
right.
Exactly. And it's really gratifying.
And so do they find you, and this might be where they're having a board meeting or probably it's bigger than a board meeting. Well, if it's a large company, a board meeting could be pretty darn big.
Yeah.
But, when they're having, like a big meeting, and then they're going to say, Greg, we need somebody to come in and kind of, we've got bad numbers this month. This quarter was really tough on us, and we got the stockholders in here. We need you to make them laugh.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said, one of the things I've said is when times are good, people want to laugh, and when times are bad, people need to laugh.
That's true. Very, very well done.
Yeah. And I have spoken for companies that I know have just had huge layoffs and haven't met their numbers and so forth. But again, it's not really my job to talk about that on stage. They probably heard enough about that. It's my job to just bring a little levity to an event, because anybody who's watching your show has probably been to some offsite corporate event, and you can only listen to straight business talks so long.
It's
before you just need to get away from that, even if it's just for an hour.
And I have sat in so many board meetings, and you're sitting there trying to keep yourself awake, and you're like, do I have to? And there's the same guy in every one of them, and you're like, do I have to? Can't I just tell this guy, shut the heck up? Shut up! I'm tired of you. Quit bugging me.
The guy that 3 times says, in conclusion.
Yeah. and my last point.
That's right.
And my last point again.
But I digress. Can we go back 4 slides?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I've had to follow that guy a lot, by the way.
Oh my gosh. And they're going, please, somebody.
Right.
Where's the shepherd hook when I need it?
Exactly. I mean, I've literally been in the wings, just like, oh man. And I could go back to my room,
Well, that is fantastic. Well, do you have some corporate shows on the way? You have any scheduled yet this year?
It is starting to reopen a little bit. It's probably going to take a few more months before people are flexible and comfortable traveling again. But you are starting to see, especially in some of these big convention cities, like say a Vegas or an Orlando, they are starting to open up a little bit. It'll be a slow process. I mean, the corporate events industry, I'm not going to lie, has been decimated by the pandemic because people weren't traveling and they weren't comfortable, and you weren't having corporate events, and you have to reopen hotels and you have to reopen convention centers. And then you have to figure out a way to make sure that everybody feels safe and comfortable being there, whether that's walking, whether that's eating, whether that's sleeping. And I have some events booked, and I'm also doing some comedy clubs, which obviously don't take as long as time to reopen and so forth. But, I've been making people laugh, Alex, for 30 years full time. That's not something that you can just say, I'm not going to do that anymore.
No.
So I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to play by the rules. And obviously this TV show that I've got now is a great sort of a side gig. and has allowed me to continue to kind of keep my name out there and continue meeting people and continue making people laugh.
Well, and the interesting thing is, even here in Texas, where we're basically back open 100%.
Yeah, you are.
When you go into a restaurant that you went to before pandemic and you had to wait in line for lunch, they're a fraction of the people in there. I mean, it is really, it's really devastating a lot of people, and it's taking.
It is.
There's a lot of healing that's going to have to go on, psychologically for our whole society. So I really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. You're just a great guy. You're super, super talented. I've watched some of your videos and I laughed the whole time. And I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story with us.
Well, I appreciate being asked. I know I'm not your typical guest, but
You're not typical.
To me, the idea, we haven't even talked about my home improvement skills, which would be a really short interview.
Hey, I know people, brother. I know people.
Right, exactly.
Thank you so much. And tell everybody how to find your show real quick before we leave.
Yeah, well, if you want to, obviously, gregschwem.com for corporate comedy to learn about me. And then my show is distributed, The Comedian Crashes Your Pad, by Fantastic Entertainment. So that's fantastic-entertainment.com. Search Comedian Crashes Your Pad. You can find out all about it.
Fantastic, sir. Have a fantastic day. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. All right. Best of luck to you, Alex.
Thank you. Hey, don't forget to follow us on all your social media. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe and share on YouTube, and check us out on all your social media platforms. Don't forget to watch Remodel Revolution on your smart TV, on Texas Weather Tracker TV, on Roku, Android, Apple, and Amazon TV, Sundays at 1 and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.